All right, we're back. I don't know what happened. Stream is messing up a couple times. But anyway, where we left off, I just had to break down. I just had to break down after this biased moderator interjected. I just had to break down why the video footage is necessary, even when you are trying to discuss use of force. Where is the positioning? Where is Austin Metcalf? Where is Hunter Metcalf? Where is Carmelo Anthony in the under the tent? Where is everyone at? It's important to know all of these little details when you're discussing use of force. How quick was it? Did he chase after him or did he run the other way? If you haven't seen the video, you can't be critical of the evidence like someone who saw the video. So for her to say you're trying to make a he's trying to make a use of force claim, I don't think you needed to see the evidence for the video footage for that. It's crazy. And again, that's not even something that a moderator should do. She just had a clear bias. I guarantee, I'm willing to bet if you ask her opinion, is Carmelo Anthony guilty of murder? She would say yes. I'm willing to bet. And she just couldn't help herself.
At the full video. On the video, you see him walk with a coach back over to the tent from on the track, looking at the bleachers, saying he's not going to die. I think that's important to know for evidence, the intentions that we have to prove.
I mean, I think we're both very familiar with the 7 stages of grief, where the very first one is denial, right?
Grief or just
grief.
The person. So he's grieving Austin?
He's grieving maybe Austin because, you know what, maybe it was really just something that was, I mean, obviously not maybe. It was something that happened in the passion of the moment, I would most likely say, right? So I agree with what Soy was saying.
You
where
say
like,
what? You would say what?
that it probably should be like reduced,
To
right?
what?
Like the sentencing time is what I'm saying.
But
The crime of passion. is
The
what
time?
Yeah. So like, I think he's got like 35 years. It probably shouldn't be 35 years. That's what I'm saying.
What would you recommend?
Well, that's relevant to the point of that I'm trying to establish right now. That's going to go into a whole different thing. But the point that I'm trying to establish, I don't even remember what I was saying since we got it.
That's relevant. I let him get away with it. That's relevant. Because if you were to say 5 years, then you know it isn't murder. You think he shouldn't have got 35 years. Be honest. I don't like that, Ethan. I don't like that. You have a number in mind.
Dropped into that.
You're saying that you were just on the stages of grief. The first
Oh, yeah. So when he stabs him, he probably is like freaking out, you know, after that. I think anyone would be after you stab somebody and there probably was a good bit of blood, or after you stab someone in the chest. And then second, he probably knows if this guy does die, then my entire life is at serious jeopardy. So like, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me that him saying he's not dead or he's not going to die or whatever it was, that doesn't surprise me.
Have you ever seen someone get stabbed?
I don't know how that's relevant at all to this.
I'm going to tell you. Have you ever seen someone get stabbed?
Yeah, I've seen videos.
Have you no, and in the moment in person, have you ever seen someone get stabbed?
No.
Have you ever stabbed someone?
Nope.
I've seen people get stabbed. I've stabbed people. When you intend to stab someone, I'm not worried about grieving over them. I didn't ask, is he gonna be all right? I thought good for him.
When you do stab people, though, or when you do intend to stab people, usually you reach in your bag and you say, "Come over here and see what happens." Right?
No, what?
You say like, "Come over here, see what happens."
When
Touch me, see what happens.
No, when I stabbed the person, it was because they touched me first. We were having an altercation.
Well,
they started.
Just because someone touches you doesn't mean you get to, you know, do a great risk to their life. That's what I'm saying.
So you're saying, let me make sure I understand your argument correctly. You're saying in America, people should have the right to go around putting their hands on people first because they have a disagreement.
Whoever said that? I just said that you shouldn't be able to like. Are you saying that? People should be able to touch other people just because they have a disagreement? No, I never said that.
So you disagree with people. So you disagree. Austin did something wrong by putting his hands on Carmelo first.
Of course.
Okay. So then what are the parameters for defending yourself against bigger people?
Not necessarily killing them or doing something that it's of great risk to killing them. Not necessarily.
Okay. So let me make sure I understand this. If a female is standing here and she's 5'7", 140 pounds.
Mhm.
And a guy is standing here and he's 6'3", 230 pounds.
Mhm.
And he says, I'm going to take it from you. And she says, if you touch me, you're going to see what happens. And then he grabs her and she stabs him and he dies. Should she go to prison for murder?
For wait, did Austin know that
No,
he had a,
should
he had a
she,
weapon?
should she go to prison for murder?
Did Austin know that he had a weapon?
I don't know if Austin knew he had a weapon.
Well,
Should
now
she-
we're introducing new variables.
no,
This is not
should
analogous.
she go to, all right, so
Right.
Let's
This
say-
one you
let's-
said she would tell him, I will stab you.
no, she didn't. No, she said, touch me and see what happens. She's saying the same thing
okay.
that Carmelo said.
Look at her. She interjected and she's wrong. I didn't say she said touch me and I will stab you. I said she said touch me and see what happens. And then people can rewind and catch her biases. She's hearing what she wants to hear, and she knows this is a good hypothetical I'm bringing up. So she interjected. Shut up. Sitting up there lying and wrong.
So she's standing there. She has her hand in her purse and she says, touch me and see what happens. Then the guy grabs her and she stabs him and he ends up dying. Should she go to prison for murder?
What's the guy trying to do? I mean, like, if the we need to know the context to this whole entire thing.
He's grabbing her. So that's what I'm thinking. He just grabbed her though. That's all we know. Just like Austin just grabbed Carmelo.
Mhm.
He just grabbed her. Should she wait and see what happens?
If all else equal, if this is the same situation as Carmelo, no.
She shouldn't go to prison for wait.
No, as
so-
in she should not attempt to or do something that is of great risk to the person's life.
So
No.
she should-
all else equal, no.
So if she does and she stabs him and then he dies, she should go to prison for murder.
Yes.
Okay. I'm fair enough with that. Ladies, protect yourself.
Are
I
we
would
talking
say,
about?
I would say let's start trying to wrap up our points. If
Yeah.
if there's any bigger ones you want to make, and then we'll move into closers.
Like I said, this is 2 times in a row. Every time a good point is made, she wants to wrap up and go to close it. How? That's not a coincidence. How? She saw him do that. I look in the camera and I'm like, ladies, protect yourself. Oh, we could wrap up and go into closing. Oh, all of a sudden, because she know that was crazy. If a guy is 6'3", 230 pounds, and a woman is standing there, she's 5'7", 140. She doesn't move. She's standing around. He's like, yo, leave. She's like, yo, you can't tell me to leave. I'm going to stand right here. Touch me and see what happens. He grabs her. He's going to potentially SA her. She stabs him. He dies. She should go to prison for murder. Come on now. We know that that's ridiculous. And I think Ethan knows that that's ridiculous, but he had to stay consistent with his argument. Otherwise, his whole argument falters. He knows that as soon as he says, no, that's not murder, and I say, well, what is it? He knows then, okay, well, Carmelo Anthony is guilty of that. Whatever you're saying it is, manslaughter, negligent homicide, whatever, self-defense, whatever you say it is, you have to now apply it to Carmelo Anthony. Come on now. And as soon as that happens, we could go to closing. This lady was so biased.
Okay. Yeah, I guess the last
Somebody
thing I want to,
said-
this one maybe we'll
Oh.
get over in like 2 seconds, but like,
Somebody said, where was Sean? Sean was in and out of the room.
if I'm like intentionally, actually, you know what? No, it's not a good symmetry break. There's a hypothetical I had, but I don't think it's going to be a really analogous one upon further introspection. But yeah, I guess as a closing statement, all I'm positing is, at least with the woman example that you just gave, all I'm saying is if you swapped out Carmelo Anthony.
Sean knows she was terrible. Sean, he has hit me up. He's texted me. He was like, yo, the comments, they're obliterating the moderator. He's like, yo, next time if you come, like, we get a black mod for you. He knows.
For a woman, I would still apply the exact same standard. That's what I'm saying. Otherwise, though, no, this is an absolute disproportionate use of force. He obviously had the intent to use a deadly weapon. Deadly weapons, by virtue of their name, being deadly weapons, which can cause serious injury to a person. He obviously had the intention to use it by virtue of him stabbing Austin in a disproportionate use of force.
Yeah. So in closing, I would say Carmelo intended to use the multi-purpose tool, which could be used as a knife. But I don't think he intended to cause the death with the knife. I think he intended to maybe cut him, could have caused a laceration. There's no proof based on his actions before, during, and after the stabbing that he intended to kill him and cause his death, other than him being a normal high school kid with a 3.7 GPA, football captain, great kid, doing word puzzles. And this situation would have been avoided if he would have been allowed to stay in the dugout or if no one would put their hands on him.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Shake hands and let's move it on.
Thank you.
If you learned anything from this episode or got any value at all, please share this episode with a friend. It helps us grow the channel. It helps us grow the podcast.
Keep in mind, every time we go to break, this lady was talking to everybody and she's sitting in her seat, but she's like, oh, I'm surprised no one brought up this fact about this, or this, no one brought up this about this. How can you do that as a mod? And it's not like she was doing it in a neutral way. She didn't say, oh, Dr. James, you could have said this. Every single time she was literally in the middle of breaks, she's talking about points that my opponents could have said or they should have tried to make. This is the stuff people don't see. So I'm sitting there listening to her because I stayed in my seat the whole time. Now, we got breaks. I could have got up and moved, but I was trying to get it over with. I was flying out that night. Let's get this over with. It's already going to be long. You know what I'm saying? It's already going to be long. So I'm sitting there and I'm listening to this fool be biased. So I'm irritated, but I'm keeping my composure. You know, I'm not trying to let it get to me because I knew, for one, the camera footage is going to show the truth. Two, I knew if I would have reacted, people would have said, oh, I'm rage quitting, I'm making excuses, all this other nonsense. They would have came up with their own narratives. But this is crazy that she was doing that on breaks. That's what y'all don't even see.
Means a lot to us. Thank you so much.
My second prompt is that America owes Black people reparations and land, not apologies.
All right. And Elder Josh, you go ahead and take it from here.
So in preparing for this is a topic obviously people talk about a lot. I did watch you on Jesse Lee Peters. Appreciate always being able to know about folks before it comes, so that way we can have a more engaged discussion. A quick sort of yes or no, not a gotcha, just to get us on the same page and everybody else watching this.
So he watched me on one podcast. Well, they watch more than one podcast, but he thinks he knows me from that.
In your book, I believe you're largely critical of the U.S. government for causing harm to the Black families. Is that true?
Critical for causing harm to, in my book, largely critical. I wouldn't say that's true. No.
Okay. Well, is it?
Now, where'd he get that from? Because he didn't read my book. He probably read a synopsis somewhere online. He didn't read the book. Come on now.
Is it, I guess I'll probe a little. Is it your position that the United States government has helped or harmed the Black family, particularly through the, I'm sure you know where I'm going with this.
Through systemic racism, they have caused harm to the Black family. Correct. Yes.
All right. So one of the bullet points we'll hit on, just to get out of the front, it is fascinating to me that you will appeal to the same institution that caused so much harm to your community to try to rectify it. On the numbers, doing the math, it looks like the number you're looking for is about $22 trillion of reparations. So if you had what you were asked for spread out, I believe across about 40 million, is that roughly correct?
No.
Okay. What is
you said 22 trillion?
Yeah, and it was based off of when you were on Jesse Lee Peters, you said 300,000 to $1 million. And I think it was 40 million that would be receiving it. So I did rough math on that.
Yeah, I said for me personally on Jesse Lee Peterson.
Okay, so you don't believe it should be equal. Do you have a rough total number?
Well, do you want me to start? I can go over like different.
No, I apologize on that one. If it's going to go deeper, I'm just laying some points here. I'll get to the heart of it and then I'll hand it over, my friend.
Well,
so there's another group that the United States government has fucked over pretty hard, and that's the Mormons. They were driven from New York all the way up to Utah. In fact, the oldest building in the state of Nevada, where we are today, is the Mormon Fort. It's the oldest, not only is it the oldest building here, but the Mormons themselves abandoned it. And then
here they go with this Mormon crap. Now, how disingenuous is it? See, because I believe he actually knows the number. How disingenuous is it to come up here and make this argument knowing you lying? And he's the one who gave Carson this stupid talking point, and he got ripped for it.
and a lot of the prosperity that went on, including with the way the railroad came into the town, was all based off of that Mormon fort. And so the broader criticism I have about your entire foundation on this is that when Mormons needed to heal from a literal extermination order in Missouri, 1838, Mormons were to be driven out by any means necessary, an actual religious state-sanctioned genocide on U.S. soil. They currently are one of the wealthiest religions in the history of humanity and occupy disproportionate representation in the U.S. intelligence community as well as all over the world. So what I'm telling you as an Ephraimite is that the way forward is Christ, and if you work together to build things, you guys don't need the institutions to make right the problems that the institution created.
He's not an Ephraimite, he's an Edomite, and I'm going to tell him that. And it's not about, I'm going to just let it play.
You're done?
Yes, sir.
So your argument, let me make sure I understand your argument firstly. You're trying to say that Mormons in America have experienced the same amount of systemic and racial oppression as Black people in America?
So what I'm saying is they faced a genocide, meaning they buried their dead with cold frostbitten hands because the United States government drove them out of where they were. And I'm not offering a moral judgment or an equivocacy on this. What I'm simply saying is that if you care about your people and you believe you've been wronged, and I agree with you, beyond all right, I think the biggest tragedy here, if we're going to look at numbers, is the complete destruction of families. I believe families are the central unit of a functioning society. Black families have been torn apart. There's not a dollar that will fix that. There's no dollar amount. We could call it $100 trillion. It doesn't repair that. That's, I believe, something sacred that's been destroyed. But since we're mere mortals here on Earth, and there is not $100 trillion waiting around to be doled out to rectify historical injustices, going shoulder to shoulder and helping each other build wealth is what's worked for the Mormons. I'm just saying, if it's helpful to you, perhaps that's a point of consideration.
Okay, so my claim is that Black Americans have clearly been systemically and racially oppressed significantly more than Mormons. Do you agree or disagree?
I don't think it's relevant, but I am going to disagree.
Okay, so name one name one Mormon slave in American history.
So literally they were being executed based off their religion. And
Can you name a Mormon slave in American history?
No, I can't.
Were there any?
So in this moment, we're comparing now slavery to execution. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Can we say both are bad, or do you think slavery is a better?
Here she go interjecting when she need to shut up. Why does she need to speak right there?
Path than execution, or how would you weigh those?
Well,
genocide versus slavery.
Slavery was a genocide.
Okay, I could agree on that.
So when you bring up Mormons to say what Mormons are doing today and how they are successful and they didn't rely on the government, it's important to establish whether they're equal or not to the form of systemic racism and oppression that Black people went through, especially when the claim is that Black Americans are owed reparations of land due to slavery. Mormons didn't experience slavery in America, so they can't be logically equivalent. That's a logical fallacy, even bringing that up to say what they went through. They didn't go through slavery. Even if we just start from when America was founded in 1776 to 1865, which we know slavery went past that. It went past 1865, correct?
There's slavery right now. You don't give a shit about that.
No, that's not true, and you don't know that. So it's wrong for you to put that claim on me. Correct?
I disagree.
So I don't give a damn about slavery right now.
So we're spending an awful lot of time right now talking about you asking an institution. This is the prompt.
So he made a claim that he can't prove, which is dumb. Then, like I just said, you're comparing Mormons to Black Americans and Black American slavery and chattel slavery when there's no comparison. You're trying to say Mormons, they were mistreated because of one kill order in 1838 that 50 of them end up dying and like 5,000 or 6,000 of them had to, evacuate Missouri or something like that. You're comparing that to the Black experience in America, which is just a logical fallacy with everything that we've had to endure. Just doesn't make sense. You're trying to say, Mormons were able to respond from their mistreatment, and now look at us, when it doesn't even compare to what Black people have went through. You're not comparing apples to apples. Terrible.
Owed reparations, to go more sophisticated with it, but given we'll keep it clean. What I'm saying is Your cause is just. Your pain is real. I agree with you. What you're appealing to is the same institution that fucked you to fix it. That's incoherent.
Okay, so the claim is not whether or not the United States government will give it to us. The claim is that we deserve it. Do we deserve it?
Well, it's America owes.
America owes Black Americans reparations and land.
So it's not about deserving. It just says America owes, which would which would be a actual, like, something needs to happen. It's
so-
not whether you deserve it or whether it's right or just. It's America owes. Like, I owe.
So here she go interjecting again, which is what he's supposed to say. When, yeah, the distinction is stupid. The distinction is stupid. Like, okay, I see the sort of the point, but not really. Because if I owe you $100, you deserve $100 from me if we're speaking on morals, what's morally right. So that's sort of like a semantics game on that point. It's not vastly different saying owe and deserve. Like, she's explaining for him when he could have said, that's his job as the debater, as my opponent. I asked him a question. It's his job to call out, like, I don't think you're supposed to say that's a logical fallacy or that's not equivalent. You know, the topic is what's owed to you, not what you deserve, which those two go hand in hand. You can't say I owe someone something, but they don't deserve it. Because then you're just not dealing with what's morally right. If someone can deserve something, I don't even know if you can make the argument that someone deserves something without it being owed to them. Like, so this doesn't even make sense. If I'm owed something, I certainly deserve it. And if I don't know that you can make the argument that someone deserves something if they're not owed it, because then it's just an opinion. Like, if you owe me, if I give you $200, you owe me $200 now. I deserve $200 from you. That is what's morally right. That is what's just. I deserve it. I asked him a question. She didn't even let him answer. She interjected. She did this all the time. That's not what a moderator does. Like, that's crazy. And over the words owe and deserve. And it's annoying. It was so annoying.
Owe you $5. There's a reason I owe you $5, right? Doesn't matter if it's deserved or not or justified. The point is I owe you $5.
Yeah, from a standpoint of like just being how can I say reasonable, it's my stance that they're synonymous. It's the same thing. If I loan you $100 and I say, hey, you owe me $100, I deserve that $100 back. So it's like the same type of thing as the stance that I'm saying. So just for anyone in the room, but
I would disagree with that because words are very important when it comes to especially making prompts. And people read your prompts exactly as they are understood. And colloquially, we understand the word owes as in there is something due, right? Not justifiable or deserves or so on and so forth. So I would just center that in that if he's coming to the conversation with the word owes and he wants to run on the narrative of you're reaching out to the government, that the very one that, as he said, fucked you to pay you, right, for these. That's the prompt that he was giving. So it makes sense where he's going.
Perfectly fine, because I could do that one.
So I'm like, all right.
Okay.
Just
If
based.
you want to interject, let's go with that. Because the only difference is owes has an amount. Deserved, you may not have an amount. But if I'm talking about you specifically owe me $200, I deserve $200. If I say I deserve something from you, I deserve something from you. So that's not a significant difference for her to do what she did, but I'm still just going to roll with the punches.
So if the explorations in economic history as a source, the 2024 peer-reviewed study estimated the yearly slave productive output in 1800, 57.6 million, 1810, 77.6 million, 1820, 106.7 million. I could continue. So we are owed money for, free labor that built America, but just whether or not America will give it to us, which is I think you're getting at, the same system that oppressed us, they may not give it to us, but it doesn't change the fact that we are owed it.
Well, so you're wearing an institutional title today, doctor. I'm wearing my heritage as elder. Goes 9 generations back.
That was stupid. That was dumb. Because I have a doctorate, I'm wearing an institutional title. So, like, stupid. So I'm not supposed to use the prefix that I earned. You went to school for 9.5 years. You have a doctorate. Like, come on now. Yeah, she was just trying to be difficult.
Which means my culture has studied and reflected every Sunday and more and passed on learnings and understandings. If I recall correctly, you're an Israelite too, and if I may be so bold, from what tribe?
Judah.
Doesn't surprise me. God's chosen people, yes?
Correct.
Right. So I'm from the tribe of Ephraim. Are you familiar with the tribe of Ephraim?
Yes.
Mm. You look like you have prejudice in your heart, my Israelite brother.
Oh, does God have prejudice in his heart?
No, he does not. But you reject the message of Christ, which is that all are equal.
No, I don't reject the message of Christ, and I don't know where that was Christ's message. But I don't know if you want to go down that hole, because you could just quote Deuteronomy 7:6 for me, and we could see if God has prejudice or not.
So you're appealing to the Old Testament.
Old and new.
Right. So the New Testament, Christ fulfilled the Mosaic law.
The old law, the Mosaic.
Now, if he would have read Deuteronomy 7:6, first of all, now we into biblical. But if he would have read Deuteronomy 7:6, which he believes, they focus more on the Torah. He focuses more on the first 5 books. So, but if we would have read it, I have chosen thee to be a special people above all other nations, above all other people. That shows a clear prejudice. That's Deuteronomy 7:6. That would have that cooked him. He's not an Ephraimite either. He's an Edomite.
Exactly.
Law. Yeah,
where there were rules for slaves.
He came to,
and where it's okay, in the Bible.
He came to fulfill the law.
Correct. And what did Christ teach?
What did he teach? What are you getting at?
To love your brother, to bear one another's burdens.
Your brother. And he said he came to save who?
Everyone.
No, he didn't. The children of who?
Children of God.
Of who?
Are you going to?
It starts with an I.
Are we doing Yahweh versus
Elohim? He said he came to save the children of Israel.
Ah.
Yeah.
Just one tribe, though, is it? Just the chosen tribe, or all of them? To bring the rest of them.
Yeah, but did he say he came to save people outside of Israel?
The tribe of Ephraim's job is to unite the tribes, to gather the tribes. And so it's kind of, when I was prepping for this, it was fascinating for me that I heard you raise that you were an Israelite and having this discussion.
Mm-hmm.
Because you are bearing an historical grievance for which there is a solution that it doesn't appear that you like. You seem to advocate for America to pay for reparations over perhaps accepting the message of building from that which you have. And even giving you example of a culture that, if we're debating genocide versus slavery, it's a competition where neither side is winning. However, as your brother, Israelite brother no less, I'm here sharing with you some insights that might help you heal your community. You want a check from the government. You don't want resolution.
No, I do want resolution, and I'm not dependent on the government to give us what's owed to us.
So why are you even talking about it?
Because it's owed to us. We talk about justification. We talk about what's just. Which is this justice?
So who owes it to you? Specifically, who owes it to you?
Do you believe in equity?
No, I think it's cancer.
You don't believe in equity?
Yes, I believe it's cancer.
Now, how can you have a discussion with someone who doesn't believe in equity about reparations? Like, if you don't believe in fairness and right and wrongs, and if this person got money for injustice and this group got money for injustice, then it's only right Black people get money for injustice. If you don't believe that, we don't need to talk. And the thing that I find interesting, all of these white people I sat down with, all of them said the same thing. They don't believe in equity. He said it. Carson said it. The Jake dude said it. And that the guy that I think he looks like a truck driver. That guy, I don't know his name. I think he had on like a green like lumberjack shirt, but he said it too. They don't even believe in equity. They don't believe in what's fair. Like, come on now. That's like saying they don't think that handicapped people should get a wheelchair. Like, everyone should be able to just get around how people without a disability get around. Like, come on now. How you don't believe in equity?
Who owes it to me? The government, the U.S. government, the same institution that made slavery legal owes the American people, the Black American people.
So, do you want to go back to a number?
What do you mean go back? What do you mean go back to a number?
So before this, I prepped, I listened to your words, I got to know you a bit. You said for you, 300,000 to 1 million. That's your cut of the reparations.
Okay.
Now, of course, you don't see everyone equal. So your fellow Black men that suffered the same, and sisters who suffered the same problems, they have the same bloodline issues, the same intergenerational, the same discrimination. You think, do you think you deserve more than them or less than them?
No, I just don't. The clip you're talking about where you think you got to know me, I said I was speaking for myself because I don't want to speak for everyone else. They may feel that they're owed more than the number that I'm putting on it. So I said 300 to 1 million. They may feel they're owed 2 million.
So you think, so you think it's up to everyone, but do you have like,
That looked bad for him. He thought I wanted more money than other people, which is why I said that. I deserve. He thought I was going to say I deserve more money than other people. That's just crazy.
a ballpark of what this would?
I don't think it's up to everyone. So there's two things we could do. And William Darity, the economist, Duke professor, he puts a criteria on it. We look at people who can prove that they had an ancestor who was a victim of slavery, and we can look at the 1870 census and we can see this. I already tracked it. I know I have an ancestor who was a slave because I have a great grandmother who was born in 1873. She died in 1984. So it made it real easy for me because my father, my biological father, he knew this person for over 50 years, and we have stories, and it was passed down. So I know how to look at her parents who were slaves,
Right.
and I know how to track it, and I've tracked it. So I know I can prove it. So I know I would qualify for it. It also has to be people who identified as Black on the census at least 12 years before any talk of reparations came about. So there's a criteria for it. And then those people will qualify for a certain amount. And it doesn't have to be a certain amount given over time. I think William Darity, he proposed that we are owed around for each person between 200 to 300,000. And it would be approximately 40 million people who will qualify. But again, they would have to prove that they have the ancestor. So it wouldn't be that number.
So there's two legs on that. I'm just going to lay out the legs. We can pick at them. Leg one is you're still talking in the neighborhood of 10 to 20 trillion dollars, which is enough, which is a third or so of the entire US budget, which means we're going to fuck the entire economy if we do it as check. And I'm not saying that that's what you're advocating for. And I'm even going to go as far as to say the suffering that it's meant to solve for might be worth cratering economy a bit because we have a real problem. I'm not even to say that is intrinsically a deal breaker, but where it just really completely falls off the fucking rails for me here is you're ignorant to the other side of the V. In a lawsuit and litigation, we're saying the law, we're going to use the law. The tribe of Judah likes laws. We like, I believe you say you don't eat pork, you practice to the law. So you like the law. The law requires a responsible party, and it's incredibly lazy to say that's the United States government when these were individuals that were benefiting from it. And there's so many more contributions to the growth of the American project since the ending of slavery, not the least of which was ending slavery, that you're looking to have people who have not held slaves, who may have in their bloodline sacrificed blood to end slavery, and you want to check. You want more government gives. That's your solution. It makes no sense.
So you said there were individuals who benefited from slavery?
Yeah,
And
slave
not-
traders
Yeah, and
plantation owners.
they were able to
and
do
cotton
so. They
manufacturers,
were
I'm assuming.
able to do so because the United States government, the institution, made it legal. If they hadn't made it legal, they wouldn't have been able to do it. A lot of these things went into court, and the government violated these people's rights. The U.S. Constitution said everyone's created equal. Black people weren't created equal in their eyes. They weren't treated fairly. All of the founding fathers, these presidents, George Washington, they had slaves. They treated people unfairly, took their teeth out their mouth, whipped them, beat them, forced them to fight each other, butt breaking them in front of their family. That was legalized by the United States government. Even they so-called outlawed bringing slaves into America. And then in 1860, they were still bringing slaves into America on the Clotilda. You had Cujo Lewis, who died in 1935. You had a Matilda McCrae, who died in 1941. These were people who were slaves. This isn't something that's a long time ago. Harriet Tubman died in 1913. You had Fountain Hughes, who died in 1957. This isn't long. And then they also legalized Jim Crow, segregated us, treated us unfairly, lynchings. Are you familiar with Jesse Washington, the 17-year-old who was lynched in front of a crowd of 10,000 people in Waco, Texas? He was set on fire. They castrated him. They cut off his ears. They cut off his nose. They burned him for an hour.
Yeah, and you're so
then
stuck.
Then they cut his piece.
If y'all haven't heard of Jesse Washington, go look it up. That is the worst. That is the worst lynching story in history.
His body up and sold it as souvenirs and created postcards. This happened several times. We go through Emmett Till. We go through all of these different things that took place. And now you're saying the government, we built this country. We contributed to this country. Black Americans, free slave labor built this country and made banks wealthy. JP Morgan, all of these banks profited off of slavery. I hope you know that.
So
they
what's
made
beyond
millions and
delusional
billions
about
of
your
dollars.
position?
We're owed this money. Just because the American government, who treat us horribly, may not give it to us, it doesn't change the fact that we're owed it. And if you were arguing the other side and Mormons had the significant unfair treatment, you would be saying we're owed something. But you know it's a logical fallacy to compare any group in America to Black Americans and what we went through.
No, I'm saying that you're so stuck in the past. You cannot shake it. And fair enough, it's a horrible past. What I'm telling you is that 9 generations later, after literally there were executions of Mormons, they were literally driven from their homes. They had their property stolen. They had their children killed. These are all things that happened to the Mormons. And that's all awful too. I'm sure you'd be reasonable enough to agree with that. But what you're rejecting on its face is the notion that you've already, in fact, take it a step further. The United States government has decided it's okay to systemically oppress white men. Are you okay with that? I'm assuming that you like the idea of correcting this.
You're trying to change the subject. That was never.
It's the exact same thing. You're saying the government fucked you over, and I'm saying the government tried to fix it.
You're trying to change the subject.
And you don't like it because it's a good argument.
You're trying to change the subject. I'm not going to let you change it because we're talking about reparations for Black Americans. Do Black Americans, are we owed reparations?
What part of getting favorable treatment in education and in the workforce is not a form of trying to correct the past?
Favorable treatment in the workforce. Are you familiar with the job discrimination?
You're probably the dumbest person I've ever debated, and an institution gave you a doctorate.
Are you familiar with the job discrimination in America? In Long Island, New York, 2022, you had 6.
So he just used ad hominem for no reason, and I ignore it. I know he's trying to go viral.
6,700 Black people go out to be law enforcement, go out to be cops. Do you know the percentage? Only 67 were hired out of 6,700. The main cause for discriminating against them was saying they failed a psychological exam, which isn't even fact. It's a professional opinion. That's discrimination.
So why did the United States Supreme Court?
They have the sources. They have the information to where they discriminate on people based off their name. So when they see a name like Jamal Wallace, they put their resume to the bottom of the pile.
So why did Clarence Thomas
favored in the workforce?
Yes.
What sources do you have that Black people are favored in the workforce? What site? What source?
Literally, the entire foundation of a word you want me to wrap around is equity, and the United States government itself has given favorable treatment to hire. The Supreme Court of the United States of America recently overturned affirmative action because it had turned into discrimination of simply the opposite kind.
Give me a number of how. Yeah, I just gave you a specific case, Long Island, New York, for people to look up.
So they're talking about a 2023 case of discrimination with affirmative action, with them taking race into consideration when admitting people into college. The case that they're citing only highlights 2 colleges, Harvard and the University of North Carolina. That's what he's citing. The Supreme Court case highlights that Harvard and the University of North Carolina was significantly considering race when allowing students to be admitted into the school, and they were being how can I say it, discriminatory towards white people, and some Asians. That's what they were saying, and it was benefiting black people. So out of all 2 schools, with the source that they're bringing up, the Supreme Court case, it has 2 schools, Harvard and the University of North Carolina. Now, when you look at, and I went over this, when you look at the data for that, let me get the name because I want people to know. What is the exact name of the place? Where'd I find it? The National something. Dang, do I got it? I think it's here. The National Association for College Admission Counseling. They found, I'll say it again, the National Association for College Admission Counseling. They found that the vast majority of schools said race had no influence on their admission process. 60% said it had no influence. 17% said limited influence. So 77% didn't even really consider race. And when you look at the other schools, it's not saying if race favored white people when they consider it, Asians or whatever. So bringing up 2 schools is irrelevant to try to prove your point. Out of all of the schools we have, the thousands of schools, colleges we have in America, you bring me 2 schools that had a bias towards white people in their admission process with considering race. Come on now.
Cherry picked an example to ignore an entire nationwide screen.
You give me an example. You cherry pick an example.
The United States government gave preferential treatment to agriculture for farm grants, and they were excluding whites. They actually lost it in court. And so they were giving preferential treatment. I'll give you another example right here in Vegas.
They lost it in court.
I'll give you another example right here in Vegas. When the great state of Nevada decided it's okay to have pot legal, they allocated licenses specifically for blacks and minorities. Is that not a concession to try to
That's a lie. What he just said is a lie. And I'm gonna show y'all that that's crazy that he lied like that. He said in Nevada, when they were giving cannabis licenses out, they were allocating it specifically and prioritizing black people and stuff like that. In 2021, Nevada enacted a system for independent cannabis consumption lounges. And what they did was they had it where you could be a social equity applicant, but that didn't mean black applicants specifically. When Nevada opened applications in 2022, it received 30 social equity applications for the 10 designated social equity independent lounge licenses. Now, what they meant by social equity, to qualify, applicants generally had to have at least 51% ownership, have lived for a specified period in a disadvantaged high incarceration census tract. They had to either have a qualifying cannabis conviction, so they had to be incarcerated at some point for cannabis on a certain level, or an immediate family member with a qualifying cannabis conviction. That's not specifying black people. I'll say it again. They had a social equity clause that you could apply for your cannabis license for in Nevada. Didn't mean black people. You had to be the majority owner, and the majority owner either had to live in a specified period for a specified period in a disadvantaged high incarceration area. They had to qualify based off them having a cannabis conviction, or one of their immediate family members had a qualifying cannabis conviction. That's what it said. And they only got 30 applications in the whole state of Nevada. They got 30 social equity applications for the cannabis license. And only 10 were going out. So he just lied. He just lied. He said in Nevada, they were giving out, when they were bringing cannabis lounges, oh, they prioritize black people. No, they didn't. So when we say fact check, and I've said this, that's another thing people don't know. The fact check machine was reading what everyone was saying. So when you ask for a fact check and two people were speaking, it could come up red or whatever based off it's catching everyone's words. But what he just said is a lie. So when you look it up and you look up, oh, they had a social equity applicant, here's the criteria. Nothing about it says black people get special treatment or prioritization. Come on, just lying.
Because that's what they're saying it is. The people offering these preferential treatment in business and academia and in employment and in government programs are saying it's to right historical injustices. Are you so delusional you don't acknowledge that?
That was a concession to right wrongs. That was some form of reparations, you said?
Is it not? Is it not an effort to correct the past?
No. You brought up marijuana, like pot institutions.
Yeah, because
I don't even know if that's true, but even if
right,
it is, that's
I mean,
not a form of
you're
reparations.
a cantankerous fuck, and that's fine. But here's the thing: the state of Nevada said we have this extremely
You're
lucrative
not even
program.
an Ephraimite. You're an Edomite.
Well, if we're gonna have that debate,
Let's maneuver into closings, gentlemen, and maybe we can pick.
There she go. It never fails. Now we want to go into closing. He threw out his ad hominem. Soon as I said you're not even an Ephraimite, you're an Edomite. Let's go into closing. She's crazy. Because Esau got mad. That was my one little clapback to his, like, him trying to go viral. Like, come on. And now we can close. Because he's not moving the needle. And we just fact checked him. So I'm going to clip this, and this is going to go viral. I hope everyone in here remembers that. This dude said that Nevada was prioritizing black people for cannabis sites and lounges. No, it's not. They had social equity applications, and the criteria had nothing to do with white people, Asian people, anyone could have met the criteria. And as long as you applied for it, you could have got selected. They only got 30 selections for 10 lounges. So we talking about 10 people here. And he's trying to make it seem like that's some wide, broad thing. Like, this is crazy.
Pick back up on this one later. Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, the core argument on reparations is being stuck in the past and rejecting the notion that there's any type of individual accountability or even gratitude for all of the efforts not just done at the academic level, at the employment level, with the government, and even with just society in general. You could walk up and down the street today in any major U.S. country, and if there was a lynching going on, people, white, black, Mexican, everyone would say, this is terrible. I'm willing to admit that if there was a governor like Governor Boggs in Missouri that signed a Mormon Extermination Act today in 2026, my American brothers and sisters would stand with me and say that's wrong. And one of the things that I think is beautiful about the message of Christ isn't that we can avoid suffering or undo the past, but it gives us a path forward. His path forward was to bear one another's burdens, to tend to those that need comfort, and to work together to build Zion. You don't want Zion, you want preferential treatment. Thank you for your time.
Okay. It's not preferential treatment when you get what's owed to you. I've run off some numbers. I've cited, economist William Darity, people who spoke about this, done the research on it. Black slavery built America. Black Americans in slavery, we built America. We built the economy, picking cotton and allow it to be. So the free labor built America. It happened for, centuries, and, we got nothing for it. So it's owed to us. Everyone has gotten their just due. Native Americans, the Japanese who were in internment camps, people who had family members who were victims of 9/11. We even pay reparations to people who weren't the victims themselves. We gave Native American trust elements to people today who they weren't alive, they're descendants of the Native Americans who experienced it. So it's only right that we get what's owed to Black Americans, especially if you follow a set criteria. That's not, just saying you're looking for a free handout. It's owed to you. But, people, you said yourself, you don't believe in equity, so I don't expect you to get it. You don't believe in fairness. Black people in America, we've been running a marathon, and everyone else has been starting at mile 20. We had to start at mile 0. And then people ahead of us, they don't want us to catch up, so they don't want us to get our reparations. You're one of those people, so I understand it.
Thank you, gentlemen. Shake hands and let's move on.
Thanks for watching all the way to the end, guys. Please hit like and subscribe. It helps us grow the show and helps us get bigger guests. Thank you so much.
So I didn't shake Josh's hand. I didn't like his spirit, but I still got up and I gave him a fist bump. I don't think he wanted to. I think he was mad. but mind you, he was trying to go viral with the insults. Remember, I told y'all they tell you before you go out there, like, oh, if you want to use insults, if you want to use ad hominem, just don't go too far, but it can make you go viral. It can make for a good clip. I'm not trying to go viral off these clips. I'm in there to tell the truth. I'm not in there to play games. A lot of them were in there to play games. And here goes this guy, Mr. Rippy. Oh my God. This coon.
That America owes people reparation because of multiple reasons. For one, who's going to determine the criteria, who's going to benefit, or who's going to be the recipient of reparation? So are you familiar with who Andre Dufarme is?
No.
Okay, so he was a black slave master back in the 1860s.
So he just brought up Andre Dufarme. The guy's name is Andrew Durnford, and I brought this up. You guys can Google that name. If you look up Dufarme, it won't come up. So I made a short of it already. I broke it down. The person he's talking about as a black slave owner had a white father who was a slave master. So this was my whole point with them counting black people that as slave masters who had a white father or a white mother, or it was a black person who purchased their family member's freedom, and then they count that person as a slave master. The first person he brings up has a white father, and he says he was a black slave master. So now you're not telling the people the context. Like, you're not even telling the people he was a black guy that had a white father. Why don't you do that? Why don't you tell people? Why don't you throw that one in there? This first guy he brought up. And see, I'm honest the whole debate. Do you know who that is? No. Then we get additional information. I look up the name later. This guy had a white father. And that's the point I was making the whole time. He's trying to push this narrative. Oh, there was 3,700 to 4,000 black slave owners. And I'm like, no. A lot of the people that they say that for either were a black person purchasing a family member's freedom, or it was a mulatto, and they call them black slaves, black slave masters. So the numbers, they don't have a percentage on it. He couldn't even give me a percentage, but he's trying to argue this. It's ridiculous.
In a slave plantation by the name of Saint Gufrey. Now, he actually owned several slaves in the dozens, over 77 slaves. Now, you mentioned before that white people receive reparation, the white slave masters. Is that true?
Correct.
Okay. Now, what is your definition of reparation that the white people received?
They got money.
Is that it? The details.
They got money. And they got money and land back. At one point, they had lost land and they got it back.
Okay. So what you're referring to is called the compensation emancipation, which means if someone owned slaves at that time, if you have a specific area, there's a small amount of the slave masters. And in particular, Andre DeFord is actually one of the beneficiaries of it. So that means that you get $300 for every slave you release, every slave you let free. Now that was put into play. So that was a promise that was signed by Abraham Lincoln in 1862 for them to receive that quote unquote reparation. Okay. That was taken away. Like, are you familiar with the constitutional block of 1866?
The constitutional block of 1866?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So basically,
That's a lie. It wasn't taken away. He's lying.
they put a block on the 14th Amendment, which means you are not allowed to receive reparation for any slaves that you free. So they put a block on it, which is exactly the same thing
That's
that
a lie.
Andrew Johnson did when Abraham Lincoln actually did give black people reparation. He took it away. They took it away from the white people. So you don't believe that the white people,
So he about to say something stupid. So when black people were supposed to get 40 acres and a mule, they gave it to a very small portion for like 4 or 5 months and then took it all away. That was true. The white people who got reparations, and you could look this stuff up. Everybody could go on Google Gemini, ChatGPT. You could look it up. Them white people got their reparations for owning black people and letting them go. And this fool about to say something stupid.
deserved reparation, even though they were promised it, but the black people deserve reparation.
I don't think you deserve anything for owning slaves and doing the right thing and letting them go. So that's a logical fallacy unless you believe black people deserve to be in slavery in the first place. Do you?
No, of course not.
So
Well, black
that's
people-
not a form of reparations.
Black people were the only one that was slaves. I bring up this point because
In
one,
America, they were.
because no, there were actually Indian slaves and there were some white slaves in Texas too.
Name one
And-
white slave in American history.
I can't name them, but you can't.
Okay, then.
Can you? Do you know who Andrew Johnson is? I mean, yeah, Andrew.
He brought it up and can't name one. Shut up.
Johnson is Anthony Johnson
It's
is.
Anthony Johnson.
Yeah.
Yes, I know who
Yeah.
he was.
Okay. Who is he?
Anthony Johnson was a man who came to America as an indentured servant. After he worked off his indentured servitude,
Mhm.
he was set free. He ended up going to court because he had 3 people in his custody. All 3 of them were supposed to be indentured servants. He went to court. He won the right to keep one of them for a lifetime.
Mhm.
That's Anthony Johnson.
Yeah. So 1661, the court case actually got passed. So that's the reason why he's the first legal slave master in the country.
No, he was
You know?
not.
Yes, he was. On
No,
paper, he
he's
was the
not.
first legal slave
No,
master.
Hugh Gwynn was the first
no,
legal.
no.
Hugh Gwynn, fact check it.
Not- please-
Hugh Gwynn
please
was a
fact check
white
that.
slave owner. Was a slave owner who went to court and did the same thing before him. Hugh Gwynn was a slave owner, a white guy before Anthony Johnson.
Please fact check.
So I said to fact check this. Let's see if they fact check this. I already did a clip responding to this. Hugh Gwynn, the white guy, was a slave master in 1640. Anthony Johnson didn't become a slave owner to 1655. So I was correct. Let's see if we ever get to the fact. She's sitting there on a computer and she's trying to read the AI reader. Just go to Google or something. Like stupid. The AI reader, the supposed to be fact checker is a reader that's tracking everything we say in its AI, and it wasn't easy to track all of the information in the conversation. So just have someone with a computer to just do simple searches, Google searches or whatever, find the information and say, okay, this is wrong or this is not wrong. And you shouldn't continue until the fact check is done. Like what they do with Jubilee and stuff.
This.
Yeah.
We- should we wait?
Pop up.
Hugh
It'll take a
Gwynn.
bit, but go ahead. It's going to take a little bit,
Okay,
but go ahead and
okay.
move on until then.
All right. So consider the fact that there were about 37 to 4,000 black slave
She said it's gonna take a little bit. Let's see if we ever get to that fact.
masters that owned tens of thousands of slaves back in the day. Okay. So what is the criteria? Who's going to receive this reparation?
So the people who are going to receive the reparations are the people who who are descendants of slaves in America, not the people who own slaves. Also, when we're talking about black slave owners, are you familiar with Joseph Holloway?
Sounds familiar.
Are you familiar with the statistics on black slave owners? Are you familiar? Do you understand the fact that the majority of the people that they call black slave owners were mulattoes and they were white, they were mixed? Are you familiar with the fact that a lot of the people that they call black slave owners were buying back family members
Oh yeah.
and they were counted as slave owners?
Yes. That's still the definition of
So
slave
you,
owners.
so you understand, if I'm buying my brother's freedom and then I'm counted as a slave owner. Do you think that's fair?
Okay, I'll give you that. I'm going to have to look more into that. I will give you that right there.
So you would.
I haven't heard that statistic about most of the black people that were slave masters back then were actually considered white. I've never heard that before. And it's hard for me to believe. You said they were considered something else.
Mulattoes.
Yeah. Okay. Mix.
So if my father was a white slave owner, but my mother was black, and then I get freedom, and then I inherit my white father's slaves, now I'm counted as a black slave owner, even though I'm mixed. Do you think that's fair?
No, I
don't. You think that's credible?
No, I'm actually agreeing with you on this.
So that's
if this is the case, I'm agreeing with you on this.
So that skews data on black slave owners, correct?
Well, yes, but that's not defeat the fact that there were a large majority of about 4,000 black slave masters back then.
And how many of them were mulattoes?
Okay, but it doesn't matter.
It does matter.
But were there black slave masters?
No,
because we're talking about the 40 million number.
You just said it doesn't matter. It does matter. If someone had a white father and a black mother, or a black father and a white mother, and then they're just counted as black to feed a narrative, that matters, correct?
Yes, it does.
You just said it doesn't matter. Why'd you say that?
I don't recall me saying it doesn't matter, but
everyone heard you. You said there were 4,000 black slave owners.
Yes.
And I said, how many of them were mulattoes? You said, I don't know. It doesn't matter. Does it matter when you're saying 4,000?
How many were mulattoes? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah, you brought up the data. You brought up 4,000. I'm bringing you Joseph Holloway. He is the author of Black Slave Owners. There's also another person, Michael Johnson, he wrote a book called Black Slave Masters, which talks about what I'm talking about right now, how they strategically would separate the black community. And this is how we get the whole light skin versus dark skin thing. They also were separated by gender. They would purposely make a large portion of the slave masters female. I could read that off you too. A lot of them.
I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying.
Black women represented 68% of head of households in the North and 70% of slaveholding heads of colored households in the South. This is from Joseph E. Holloway, The Black Slave Owners.
Okay. All right. So
it's a part of their systemic racism. It's a part of them getting the black community to fight against each other. They're doing exactly what they're doing right now, but feeding these false narratives. You coming in here thinking that there were 4,000 black slave owners without realizing it was systemic, and a lot of them were mixed, and a lot of them had a black dad, and there were women who were overseeing a bunch of men.
Okay. So what I'm going off of, are you familiar with Rob Wilson?
I meant to say white dad.
Did you read his book when it comes down to when he's talking about who are actually the black slave masters? He went through an entire list of the black slave masters. You can look into this thing. So when it comes down to the models, I don't know the data on that. But what I will say is that in comparison to all the mixes of race of black people, 37 to 4,000 black people, depending on the color, depending on what they're mixed with.
Excuse me?
There are 3,700 to 4,000 black slave masters.
3,700 to 4,000.
3,700 to 4,000. Okay, and he said
in total.
Yes, exactly. Okay. He said based on if they're mixed race, based on everything. So it's in between 3,700 to 4,000. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're saying in total, including the mixed race ones.
But what I'm saying is that the majority of them were fully black. That's what he put out in his book.
Prove that.
Prove it. Bring it up. Rod Wilson.
The majority of them were fully black. So you're saying out of 4,000, more than 2,000 were fully black.
Yes.
I disagree, because Joseph Holloway and Michael Johnson go against that.
All right. Well, so does Anthony Johnson and Andre DeFaro.
Anthony Johnson, the one who came over here and wasn't free himself.
I just said Andre DeFaro too.
So Andre DeFarmy he said they go against it. No, they don't. One of the names he just named is a mulatto. So he only has named one 100% black slave owner so far, Anthony Johnson. Aside from that, he hasn't named anyone that wasn't mixed. Like, that's ridiculous.
They go against, all right, they were fully black. They were black slave owners. There were some fully black slave owners.
Yeah, there was some black slave owners.
My argument is that the majority of them were not fully black. It was part of systemic racism to pin black people against each other and have black people overseeing other black people. And also black people who bought the freedom of their own family members were counted as slave owners. So that shows you the data is skewed, correct?
Yes.
You
agree
know
with
that. You know
No,
that.
no,
Black,
I'm giving you that.
but
yeah.
you know that.
Yes.
So then you know by that data the number isn't as high as they're saying.
Okay, let's just say 2,000.
Wait. You
No,
know,
I'm agreeing with you. I'm not disagreeing
No, I
with
want
you.
to make sure you.
I didn't think about the
no,
lot
for
like
the
I'm thinking
audience.
about.
I want to make sure we get this question clear.
This is what I'm saying.
You
here.
agree that the number on black slave owners is skewed and it's less than they say, correct?
Yes, it's between
Okay.
3,700 to 4,000 based on any type of black they have in them. That's what I'm saying when it comes down to Rod Woodson. Between 3,700 and 4,000 with any black in them. So that means if it's
Including the
3,700,
ones who bought
wait, hold on,
including the ones who bought their
Wait,
family
wait,
members
wait,
freedom.
let Rippy-
just let me
let
finish.
him at least finish his
He's
thought.
basing it on like he just said fully black, based on if you're fully black or not. This is everybody that's between the 3,700 to 4,000 range. You make it seem like I'm talking about 97% of them were mulattoes and only 3% were fully black. What I'm saying is that the data that he brought up, super intellectual person. He is saying that in between 3,700 and 4,000 black slave masters, that's some sort of black. Either that's a mulatto, that's a mixed person, but they have black in them. So it's 3,700 probably black, but the remaining of them probably mulattoes. All I'm saying is he included everybody in that list.
Thank you. That hurts your point because
How?
that's including people who had a white father
I just
as
covered
a
that.
slave master. That's why it hurts your point.
No,
I'm
no.
explaining why it hurts your point. That's including people who had a white father as a slave master and they inherited their father's slave owners. That's including people who were black and bought the freedom of their family members and now being counted as a slave owner. I'm not a slave owner, but I had to go through the process of legally obtaining my family member. So if I bought my freedom and now I have the money to go acquire my brother and I purchase him, I'm a slave owner? That's just ridiculous.
I'm not denying that fact that you're trying to say.
No,
right
I'm
now.
just
What
saying
I'm
that
saying
in that number you
No, no.
brought up includes all of that.
No, yeah, exactly. That's no.
What's your name?
I don't think you hear me. Okay.
I want to be able to call you by your name.
Rippy.
Rippy?
Yeah.
Thank you, Rippy.
So what you're saying is the numbers are skewed. I'm just going to repeat what you said so you guys should hear what I'm saying. You're saying the numbers are actually, engineered, basically. So when I say that 3,700 to 4,000 black slave masters, you're saying that everybody is included in that, right? Like the people that were slave masters, their white slave master, put them in charge, and now they bought their family. They're including that 3,700 to 5,000.
Correct.
What I'm saying is that the research data that they found is that the majority of those numbers were fully black.
So what's the number?
I don't remember.
Because he
I
didn't
can
say
get that
that.
number.
He didn't say that. Who's the guy you talking about?
Robert Wilson.
He didn't say that.
All right. Look it up. for
Because he's
yourself.
been fact checked by people like Joseph Halloway.
He's lying. That's why he didn't have a number. He lied. He said they're saying that the majority of those, out of those 3,700 to 4,000 or 3,700 to 5,000 were fully black. So why don't you have a number? How can they say that without a number? That makes no sense. You would have to say 2,100 were fully black or some majority number. If it's out of 4,000, you would have to say it. He's lying. And he's on the spot. I don't know. You're supposed to know. This is the only topic you're debating. You came in, you're not prepared.
Michael P. Johnson, there's books that people can read on it. There's engineered. Just the fact that it's proven that we have people who were counting people who bought the freedom of their family members, that's just ridiculous. That doesn't change the fact that, so let's say,
So they get reparations too?
if I already said you had to have a family member who was enslaved.
Mhm.
So if a black person can prove that they had a family member that was enslaved, should they get reparations?
If a black person can prove they have a family member enslaved, so let's say me, now I can prove that my great-great-great-great-grandmother was in slavery. Should I get reparation?
Yeah.
No,
Why not?
because I don't think we owe reparation. The same reason why you don't believe that the white slave master deserved reparation, even though they were promised it. You say we deserve reparation because we were promised it, right?
No, we deserve reparations for building the country for free and being unjustly imprisoned and enslaved and beaten and pillaged
Okay.
and psychologically damaged. And then following that, they never.
This fool just said the same way I believe the slave master didn't deserve reparations, black people who are descendants of slaves in America don't deserve reparations. Oh my God. So he just compared the slave master to the slave. If the slave master didn't deserve reparations, the slaves don't deserve reparations, is what he just said. That is the most coon thing I ever heard. Someone would have to tell me something more coonery than that.
Never took their foot off our neck with Jim Crow beating us, the black code laws where they would charge people with vagrancy. They put in vagrancy laws where if you were on the street, they would arrest you. Where am I going if you set me free with no home? All of that is why we deserve reparations.
You know
it
what's-
continues. My father specifically grew up in the Jim Crow South. He was born in the 1930s. He grew up in the segregated South. He was treated unfairly. That directly impacts me. Directly, because that's my biological father who raised me, and he couldn't get the right to an education. He worked his whole life from 7 years old. Worked on a plantation, picked cotton, grew corn, grew tobacco. He worked, never got the right to an education. We know what the data says about people who have an education. People who have a higher education are more likely to have a higher socioeconomic status. They're more likely to perform well academically. All of that impacts people who raise children. I was raised directly from someone who was affected by systemic racism. It came that way from slavery.
How did that
and it
impact you?
never helped us, huh?
How did that impact you in a negative way?
How did it impact me in
Yeah.
a negative way?
Yeah.
It makes things harder.
How? How does it make your life harder?
How does it make, so for example, academically, I'm an educator.
Yeah.
If you grow up in a household with parents with a higher level of education, hold on, I got something right here on my two. If you grow up in a household with people who have a higher level of education and they're using bigger words and higher vocabulary, you are more likely to read on a higher level of vocabulary level and do better academically. My father didn't have that, so I had to work harder. Even though I had certain gifts, I had to work harder academically because I wasn't being read to at home. I didn't have someone doing certain things with me. So that impacts you. Just because I worked harder and I have 5 degrees and I have a terminal degree and a doctorate doesn't mean I didn't have to work harder than someone who was raised in a household with 2 parents who have a doctorate. They're going to be raised with a certain level of academic rigor already in the household. Do you agree?
See what I'm getting at?
Do you agree?
Yes, of course.
So that's how it
but
impacted
you
me.
pretty much framing all white people. Did you know that white people were affected by redlining as well? You keep talking about Jim Crow, but what you failed to mention, no, but it's the truth, man. The truth can't be funny. But
oh yeah, it can.
Yeah, but do you have any idea how much black people actually accumulated during?
This fool just said white people were affected by redlining, as if they were affected by redlining. Or see, you pay attention to people's words. Affected by redlining doesn't mean targeted by redlining. Black people were targeted, and then side effects, it impacted other racial groups. But black people were the targeted group. Like anyone could fact check his stupidity, and it holds no weight. That's why he got tore to bits. He just a coon. I'm not debating these people. They're gonna have to pay me a whole lot of money to debate people. I'm not doing it. It's a waste of time.
Jim Crow. It wasn't up to the Civil Rights Act when actually everything started to go downhill. Okay, and I know you know all this stuff. You know how they built, you know about the Reconstruction era. You know how they built Black Wall Street. You know how they rebuilt Black Wall Street and created more black billionaires. You know, millionaires. You know that there were black buses, black bus companies. You know there are black banks. You know there are black mortgages. So when it comes down to all the systemic racism that we occurred, why are we doing so much better back then? We're actually on pace, according to Thomas Sowell. You can read this inside this. I know you know about Thomas Sowell, the conflict of vision. Okay.
How do you know I know that?
Because you seem like you have somewhat of a brain.
Oh, I thought you saw it in the Jesse Lee Peterson interview. I talked about it.
No.
Oh yeah.
No, I'm just assuming that you know Thomas Sowell because you know a little bit about who Anthony Johnson is. Where was I going with that?
You was just talking about how we was doing better during Jim Crow.
Yes. So we were on track doing better. Okay, we were married. We have families. We focus on the nuclear family. We actually focus on when you earn something, you value something. All right. So during that time after the Reconstruction era,
you noticed how all of these people are so nervous. These people were in front of me trembling. They were shaking. They were nervous. They're forgetting their talking points. I'm reminding them of their talking points. Y'all only sitting here one time for 15, 20 minutes. I'm sitting there all day. Like, come on.
And Franklin D. Roosevelt welfare state, they have dumped over $20 trillion into the black community. And ever since they've done everything, it started to go downhill. And you even admit this yourself. More government assistance destroys the black community. Okay, because once you start being married to the government, everything in the black community went completely downhill. And you want to give them more because the 2 highest groups of people on a poverty scale are the Indians and the Black people,
Mhm.
and we receive the most government assistance. Why should we get even more?
We receive the most government assistance per capita, but not overall.
Yeah, well, per capita, that's what
Yeah.
counts.
Yeah,
That's
no,
what's more
but
important.
what counts is the fact that that's something that's instituted to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Why are people who never went through? You agree that no one in American history has experienced the level of systemic racism and oppression as Black people. You agree?
Well, yeah. Well, the history of America since America was actually
Yeah.
founded. Yeah, I agree.
So why should people who didn't experience the same level of systemic oppression and racism get the same resources?
Exactly. Why should people who never experienced that type of systemic oppression that's in their mind receive any type of reparation?
Are you saying?
I'm
because
saying,
we-
why should I get anything? I didn't experience anything. The people who get reparation are the ones that are
But
direct descendants and people that went through it. Like people had to say that the Jews actually received reparation
Mhm.
over here right after World War II, but these were the direct descendants and the people that actually went through it. Why do we have to go back 9 generations
So-
for us to realize that
so
more
why
government
should
assistance
why
doesn't
should
work?
why should American people pay for reparations for people in other countries with stuff we had nothing to do with? So with
I'm not
World War
justifying
II, with World War II, the Marshall Plan, our tax dollars helped restore Europe. Why we gave them money.
Mhm.
We weren't responsible for that. Why did we do that?
I'm not justifying that.
But we've done it. That's what I'm saying. So America
But
has
that has
done
nothing
it.
to do with anything.
It does because America has given money to people where the federal government, the United States of America institution wasn't responsible for it. We're talking about something they was responsible for. They also gave money to people who weren't direct descendants. They honor Native American trust to people who weren't the direct descendants. They didn't impact it. So why did they do it for Native Americans?
Why did they do it? Give them money?
Yeah, they gave people who weren't direct descendants money.
Okay.
So why is it that when it comes to Black people, we can't get it? Because we're not direct descendants, but they do it to other people.
And you see the result.
What result?
What are the reasons? I just said that the 2 highest groups on a poverty scale are the Black community and the Indian community. You see
Well-
the results. So what is the point?
Well,
What is the
have we
point of
saw
wanting
the
to
results?
destroy the Black community even more with more government assistance?
have
I'm
we-
not for that.
Have we saw the results of Black people getting reparations? No, because we never got it.
Yes,
I
we have. We saw the
those
result of
results.
receiving $22 trillion and dumped to the Black community via welfare state.
My
And
family
ever
was
since
never on
Americans
welfare.
together- Okay, congratulations.
So
you
no.
you went out of 44 million. Okay,
My family was never on welfare.
congratulations.
So you
That's
talking
amazing.
about something?
This fool is trying to say welfare is a form of reparations when that's allocated to anyone could get welfare, not just Black Americans and not just foundational Black Americans. Anyone could get welfare. So that's just disingenuous argument and stupid. And he's talking to someone I've never been on government assistance welfare. It's just ridiculous. This dude is crazy.
Where that is given to every community. I'm talking about equity. I'm talking about laying out the equalizing the playing field for what was done to us. We were put behind the starting line. Correct?
That
Were
talking
we?
point doesn't do
It
anything.
does.
All it does is stop people from going for the opportunity because they're too busy focused on the obstacles. It doesn't do anything. You keep telling people that you have to work 3 times as hard to get to where a white person is. But I'm telling you, as a personal example of myself who was homeless 10 years ago, I just made it happen. And I never placed myself in an environment where I say I'm Black, so it's gonna have to work twice as hard. I just worked hard. Why don't you tell people this instead of talking about the type of oppressed past that we've actually been through that you never experienced? You don't know anybody personally that experienced. I know you say it's your dad, but I'm kind of hesitant about that.
My dad didn't experience systemic racism in Jim Crow South.
I don't know. I don't want to talk about the family. I don't want to talk about the South. All I'm saying is
No,
that
so
there's
wait.
nobody here that receive any type of oppression other than Black people receiving oppression from the Democrat Party. But the type of oppression that they're talking about, we do not receive. There's no such thing as systemic racism.
So the Black community is experienced oppression from the Democratic Party?
Of course, but that's beside the point.
Systemically?
That's
So you agree with me?
No,
We've
no,
been
no,
systemically
no,
oppressed?
no,
Because
I'm
that don't
not-
work with me.
I'm
I'm not a
not agreeing with
Democrat.
you.
I'm not a
I
liberal. I'm not
know,
Republican.
man. That was just a joke.
No, it
okay?
wasn't a joke.
Yeah, well,
You were serious.
Of course, no. The Democrat Party has messed up the Black community. I'm not denying that.
Uh-huh.
But what I'm saying is that there's no institution put in place to hold Black people back like they did.
So he just agreed with me that the United States government has systemically oppressed the Black community. They try to play games, and these right-wing people and conservatives are okay with it being Democrats who did it or liberals who did it. That doesn't work with me. I'm an independent. I don't tie myself to either party. Black people shouldn't tie ourselves to either party. So he's stuck. He was serious, and I caught him.
during Jim Crow.
That's not
There's
true.
no what institution. And remember, not every disparity indicates racism.
I could tell you. So we talk about systems, right?
Yeah.
So the educational system, the judicial system, policing, jobs. They have systemic practices where they treat Black people unfairly. I'll give you a specific system
Please.
with the education system.
Please.
And
So,
before you
and-
go, I just want to say, kind of get to your quicker points, and then we're gonna.
Okay.
So, it was revealed in a study in 2015.
There she go. She saw me naming all of this stuff, the judicial system, the education system, policing, all of these different things. Now all of a sudden, get ready to wrap it up. It never fails after I'm talking in one of my good points or something like that. This is crazy.
McGraw-Hill textbooks, MCGRAW Hill, McGraw-Hill textbooks was teaching, these textbooks were disseminated across America. They were teaching Black youth and all youth in America. They identified the transatlantic slave trade as a great migration. Do you see how that's detrimental and systemically oppressive? Or do you think that's a fair description of the transatlantic slave trade?
Well, I just can't take your word for it. So
I just
don't
gave
know.
the
I'll say, look,
source.
well,
So if that, all right, so
if I
look,
look into it, and then I'll actually agree
if
with you.
that's true, is that detrimental and systemically oppressive?
I agree, but do you
Okay,
do you
then.
believe that
Shall I continue? Because I could give more sources. I could give more examples.
that's
But you're saying if that's true, then that's systemically oppressive because you said there are none. But if our kids are learning about the enslavement of our people, how they were, they're not learning that they were murdered, transferred over here. The majority of them dying on a transfer,
that's all they're
sleeping,
learning.
defecating on each other, menstrual cycles, urination. All of that is not included, but you're saying it was a migration. Like, oh, they went from one place to another. If they don't learn that, you agree that that's
just talking about one
systemically
example.
oppressive?
We can't speak in
That's
theories,
not one.
okay?
That's not
We
a
can't
theory
speak
if
in
it
theories.
happened.
When I'm saying, okay, in that case, maybe
2015.
affirmative action is actually systemic racism.
Huh?
So maybe affirmative action considered systemic
You
racism.
said
How-
maybe. I'll give you another one.
How
In
is it not? What
2015
happened with the Asian? They're the ones who filed that lawsuit against Harvard.
In 2015, in a Florida police station, they were shooting at the mugshots of Black citizens.
Okay.
Is that systemically racist?
No.
Shooting at actual citizens. So if your mugshot was in a police station where for their firearms,
was it all
camp-
Black?
Yes. Florida, 2015. Anyone can look this up. And if they're shooting at only Black, and it's not a cartoon, it's actual Black faces. It was discovered when a young lady went in there and she said, hey, she caught them. She said, hey, that's my brother up there. And they were shooting at his face for target practice. That's not systemically racist and oppressive.
No.
And I've already proven this. And this fool said no.
There's a bunch of asshole cops.
So why are they just shooting at Black people?
I don't know. I don't know if I can take your word for this.
People are going to look it up. I can't wait for this to drop.
No, I
2015.
want people to look. I want to look it up myself.
So, but if they were doing it, you're still saying
that's
it's
a sign of racism. You're talking about just because the police force is an institution in that one particular county. That's a sign of systemic racism overall.
Yeah,
that Black
because
people
that's
have
a
to go
system,
through.
and those people are going to go out in society and police people, and then you've already conditioned your mind to when you see a blackface criminal, shoot at, criminal shoot.
Wow.
That's very dangerous. You don't agree?
You just made that connection. No, I don't agree. That's ridiculous.
All right, let's.
She laughed at him saying, wow, you just made that connection. She laughs. Like, what are you laughing at? This dude is goofy. And she never fact checked the Hugh Gwynn versus Anthony Johnson. And we know that that's true. We know that Hugh Gwynn was a slave owner before Anthony Johnson. So they don't have, your job as the moderator is to fact check. But you just want to interject and help people with arguments. And you all got your butt kicked.
Let's go ahead and move into our closers, gentlemen. I want to put a pin in this one, but I can foresee a bigger conversation coming from that. Go ahead, Rippy.
Okay. I enjoy this. I just wish people would stop living in the past and understand that if you don't earn anything, if you don't work for anything, you don't value anything. So giving something is not going to create any type of value, any type of hardcore lessons that the Black community needs to know. We need to stop talking about our oppressed past and start focusing on the future, start focusing on what's ahead of us, because no one can change the past. It happened, but nothing to stop you from actually doing something good in life. Nothing is holding you back. You're not a victim.
Thank you, Rippy. To you, Dr. James.
My argument is not for black victimhood. My argument is that black Americans who are descendants of slaves and can prove it deserve reparations. Black American slave labor built the country, and we were oppressed. We never got anything for it, while other groups have received some form of reparations for their unjust treatment. We haven't. I believe in equity. I believe in equity. I believe in fairness, and I believe that black people should fight for what's right. It's not necessary that we're going to get it, but it's nothing wrong with making an argument based on the facts that we deserve it.
Beautiful. Thank you, gentlemen. Shake hands and let's move on to the next one.
Thanks for watching all the way to the end, guys. Please hit like and subscribe. It helps us grow the show and helps us get bigger guests. Thank you so much.
First, I wanted to start with I love the fact that you're a martial artist. You know, I trained Shitoru karate for a long time, and then I switched recently to Muay Thai, and so you know we could be friends along those lines. On the actual debate issue, though, I think one of the big problems is the feasibility, which is when you talk about $300,000 times 40 million people, you're looking at $10 to $20 trillion, and so I think. Because obviously you can't do that. That would bankrupt the entire country. And so what we do though, is we have affirmative action programs. And to me, that seems like those are essentially a reparation program. And so I think we already do this. Do you not think we already do this?
We don't already do this. Shout out to my homeboy, Bobby Knuckles. You mentioned Muay Thai. Shout out to him. We don't already do this. Shall I continue or?
Yeah, I mean, in what sense do we not? What sense is an affirmative action program that prioritizes people of particular racial groups, not a reparation?
You just said racial groups. So when I speak of reparations, I'm talking about specifically Black Americans getting reparations and or land compensated because Black Americans generated enormous wealth for the United States through uncompensated labor. After slavery ended, government policies continued to deny Black Americans opportunities to build wealth. The United States repeatedly accepted responsibility for historical injustice by providing compensation to other groups and even honoring obligations created by previous governments or other governments outside of the United States of America. When you include other groups, you're not talking about reparations, you're talking about government assistance like welfare and things like that, where you could be white, Native American, Asian, and get the services. That's not equity, that's not reparations if it's afforded to everyone.
Well, you can't be white and get affirmative action.
Yeah, you can.
Then I didn't get in the affirmative action when I applied to colleges. In fact, actually, I was detrimented because of my race when I applied to colleges.
That's an anecdotal experience. It has nothing to do with the system.
It's also the systemic. The Supreme Court ruled on it. The fact that that's actually exactly what happened. You just disagree with the Supreme Court, or what's happening here?
That's not. So you're saying no white people benefited from affirmative action in America?
Right now, no. There are no affirmative action programs in education that benefit white people.
You said in education. See how you try to specify?
Well, yeah, starting with a particular space.
I pay attention to what people say and what they don't say.
Yeah, I started with education. That's the Supreme Court case. So I'm picking a particular industry. If you want to switch industries,
so no white people benefited from, or let me say
benefited historically. Absolutely,
no.
There were a lot of laws that were benefited white people historically. That's true.
No non-black people benefited from affirmative action.
No, other non-black people do, but black people benefited more. When you
Okay.
look at like SAT scores, when you look at MCAT scores to apply to med schools and all these things, black people benefit more than other races do. But of course, there's differing impacts, and there's